Hello, parents. It is Miss Brogue. It was so good to meet you all last night. Thank you for coming to our back to school night. It was so much fun to have energy in my room and see their smiles and see their excitement. I am excited to get started in fourth grade. So, last week, I promised you that I would send out more information on the 40 book challenge. So, this video is that information. So, if you have a few moments, if you could just listen and learn as you go, and then if you have questions, let me know. This year, your fourth grader is encouraged to complete 40 books. I know that sounds like a lot. It really is doable. It is about a book a week, is what it turns into. They can read here at school when they are done with assignments. They have time in library every week to read. And then anytime they don't get done in school, they can read at home. Most of them are going to have to do quite a bit of reading at home, especially in the beginning as they build up their stamina. The reason I do this challenge is because I have found in the past when kids are only reading one book a term or one book a month, it's really not enough to get them to become a strong reader. It's kind of like riding a bike. If you're only getting on a bike once every 3 months, it's just not enough to strengthen those skills. And this is a way that really strengthens those skills. I am also hoping that it just is a way to help them enjoy reading. I do not make them do a book report. I do not make them fill out anything on the book. Just strictly read the book for enjoyment and write it down. So, couple of things about this as we go through this. They are each going to receive a tally sheet that looks like this. It is going to be in the back pocket of their take-home folder. Please leave it there so that we can have easy access to it and so it doesn't get lost. I do not record these books anywhere else. So if this sheet gets lost halfway through the year, it is pretty devastating as they can't remember the books they've read and it's really hard to go back and backfill it. So please just leave it in the back of that take-home folder so it is always there. And then as they finish a book, you fill in the book that they finished, the author, the number of pages, the date they finished it. You as a parent, I'm counting on to hold them a little bit accountable. You sign off when they finished, then they bring it back to me a couple times a month. I'll grab their folders and I do randomly do checks as I'm signing off about every other folder, every third folder. I will grab a random folder and say, hey, it said you read Where the Red Fern Grows this month, and I will ask some questions about the book. And if they really are struggling to answer, I will ask them to go back and reread the book before I sign it off. The questions are pretty basic and pretty easy. I'm just checking to make sure they actually read the book and keep them on their toes. A couple of things with this, there are different genres that I would like them to explore. The reason for that is it keeps reading fresh and it keeps it new. If they are stuck in one genre, then reading gets really boring really quickly. With that though, I have built in a lot of wiggle room to this. If you're looking at this page, and let's say they really love mystery, and on this page there's 2 books that they can pass off as mystery, but then above that there's 8 slots as fiction. So they could read 2 mystery and then they could read 8 more mystery books that are fiction and fill in that. So that's 10 books, and then on the back of this tally sheet, you can't see it, but there is 10 readers' choice. So then they could fill all that with mystery. So that's potentially 20 books or half of it that they can read the genre that they want. And they can do that with a lot of these. If they're really into historical fiction, they can fill up the fiction and the reader's choice with that as well as that genre. So know that even though I am asking them to branch out, they still do get to dictate a lot of the books they read. Please also know I want you to pick a book that is on their reading level. If your child is just a beginner reader, you can pick some easier books that are on their level. If your child is more advanced in reading, you can get into some of those more advanced novels. So this is really adaptable to you and your child and your family. Where can you find books? That's a question I get a lot of. Check out your public library. Davis County has some great libraries, Bountiful, Centerville. If you want to go all the way to Farmington, it is a beautiful library. They have lots and lots of books, and you can take home a lot at a time. I think your limit on your card is like up to 20 books or something. Audiobooks are also really awesome. I know you are busy. I know you are coming and going. And so if you want to listen to the audiobook in the car, on your way to the grocery store, on your way to basketball, on your way to dance, that is another great way that I do not mind if children read. One really powerful way to read, especially with my struggling readers, is get them a hard copy of the book and then get the audiobook and let them follow along as the audiobook reads. It moves the story a little bit faster. They're not spending all the time decoding, but they're still getting the vocabulary and the rich storylines and have an enjoyable experience. So know that I'm totally fine with that. Also, as an adult, I listen to most of my books on audiobook, so we're good with that. 2 apps that you can also find books on. Libby is free. It is run through the public libraries, so you do have to have a library card for that, but then it's totally free. And with that, sometimes there is a wait. They have electronic books and audiobooks most of the time. Sometimes it'll say there's like a 6-week wait. I have found with my own personal usage of it, within 2 or 3 weeks, it comes up and says, hey, it's your turn. You're on the wait list. The other app is Sora. That app is run through the Davis County Schools. And so they have access to all of the ebooks and audiobooks here in Davis County Schools. How they get that, you download the app, and then they just use their Davis School username and password, and it should log them right in. So those are some ideas. I do not want you going out and purchasing books. That gets expensive, especially when they're reading this many books. So just keep that in mind, that those are some free avenues for you to use. They can also check out books from our Valley View library. I just talked to our librarian this week, and I think she said they can check out to 6 books at a time here, which is huge. So there's lots of options that way. They may also use their battle books. I know that is a big thing here at Valley View. Hopefully you'll be getting a list of those books sent home from the librarian in the next few weeks. This list is also on the Valley View website under library. She has it already posted for you. Know that this is a great place to start. These books have been vetted. They get to participate in the battle books, which is a big deal and really fun. So that's a great place to start. The other great place to start for looking for books is at the top of their tally sheet. There's a QR code. I do have it working now. It stopped working for a few days, but I did reactivate it. They can scan this, and it is going to bring up my book list. This is just a book list that I have put together over the years of books that are classic books, books that kids really love. The first thing it's going to show you is a reading level. A Lexile is just a national number that they categorize books by their difficulty. So the higher the number, the more difficult the book. And this chart is just showing you that for a proficient 4th grader, they should be getting at 770 and then upwards. For those that are still emerging readers, that are still working on that, 500 and above would be a good starting point for them. Just to give you an idea, please do not pigeonhole your kids into those numbers. As a reader myself, sometimes it's fun just to read an easier book, and that is totally acceptable. I've also seen kids that are struggling read a much higher Lexile book because they're interested in it and engaged in it, and maybe it's something like Harry Potter where they've seen the movie and so they understand it and so they are capable of that. This just really, I put this in here to kind of give you a baseline. So if you're unfamiliar with the book, you can kind of gauge it a little bit easier, but please don't pigeonhole them into that. If you can continue scrolling through my book list, It will give you the cover, the author, the number of pages, that Lexile number, the difficulty, the genres it could fall under, and then a quick synopsis. There's about 140 books on this list. I have not read all of them. I have read a lot of them, so please preview them. Make sure they are appropriate for your child and for your family. You do not have to stick to this list. You do not have to stick to the book battle list. You may pick any book. This is just a place to get you started. And just a reference, so if you do, get through a bunch of books and you're like, oh, what should I read next? They can look through this. The next thing on their tally sheet is that I do require a 100-page minimum on those books. That is so they're getting into some better novels. Those that are under 100 pages really are first, second grade level. And I do want them reading a little bit higher than that. So 100-page minimum. Now I realize there's really big books like Harry Potter. And I don't want them to feel like, oh, I've got to finish Harry Potter in a week. So books that are larger are going to count for multiple books. Anything over 250 pages, we're going to count as 2 books. And anything over 500 pages, I'm going to count as 3 books. That way, Harry Potter, they've got 3 or 4 weeks to read that book and can still stay on track. So hopefully that encourages them to read some longer novels. I do want to walk through a couple of these genres that I quite often get questions to of what are some recommendations you have for this genre, just because as adults we're a little less unfamiliar with these genres. So the first one is poetry. I do require them to read a poetry. 2 of my favorite poetry authors for kids are Shel Silverstein and Jack Prelunsky. These books are over 100 pages. They are filled with funny, light, silly poetry that is very appropriate for children, and they can easily read these in a day or 2. The next one is classic stories. So what I mean by a classic story is books like Tom Sawyer, Moby Dick, Little Women, Black Beauty. Now, I realize that most of those are written on a high school adult level, and I'm not asking them to read that level of book. Most of your children cannot read that difficulty, and even if they can, there may not be appropriate content. So what they have done at our public libraries, I have them on my shelves in my school classroom library, and I know our Valley View Library has them as well, is they have what is called junior classics. And so they have taken these fabulous works of literature and they have rewritten them and simplified them to an elementary level. So that is what I am suggesting they read. You can ask any librarian, hey, do you have the junior classics? They should have a set. You can see they're, 100, 150 pages, and they can experience those stories in an appropriate way. So that's what I mean by that. And the last topic genre I want to talk about is graphic novels. I know that in the past 10 years, graphic novels have become very, very popular. I know that there is some great content out there. However, I don't want them to get stuck in graphic novels. They do not have the depth and the vocabulary and the storylines that some of the other novels can have. So, for a compromise, I am going to let them read 4 for the whole year. This is the one genre that I will not count anywhere else. So they can't read 4 graphic novels and then fill all their reader's choice with graphic novels. 4 for the whole year, just to get them started. If they need a quick read right before the end of a term or something, they can grab one, but not more than 4. I'm not going to count them on any other list. So that's kind of my compromise there. Moving on, at the end of each term, we will be having 4th grade celebrations for those kids that have met their reading goal. The first end of term is October 16th. I'm hoping by then we can get 10 books in. That's coming up really quickly. So that is why I'm sending out this PowerPoint now so they can begin reading like today. The second term, I am going to give them over Christmas break to finish. I think the term ends right before Christmas break, but I know that between Thanksgiving and Christmas, life gets crazy. So I am going to give them over Christmas break and give them till January 10th for 20 books, March 7th for 30 books, and then May 16th for 40 books. To give you an idea, in the past, I have been able to get the fire department to come at the end of the year and hook up to the fire hydrants and have a big water party for all of the kids that can get all 40 books in. So it's a big deal. The mini parties in between on the 16th, 10th, and 7th will be things like board games, different activities. Sometimes we throw a treat in there just to keep them reading and keep them on track. But know those are coming up. I also, so you know, count the read alouds we do in class. I try to get a read aloud in once a term at least, if not two a term, depending on how busy we are here in class. So know that that will count. If they are reading books with you as an adult, if they're reading audiobooks, if they are reading books here in school, in class, all of that counts. And I know it sounds really, really big right now, but I promise it is doable. I have done this for over a decade now, and I have had most of my students be able to reach these goals. It can be a little tricky right at the beginning of the year just because they're not used to reading, but they really start to develop the habit and find books that they like, and they start to give each other ideas and each other book lists and switch off books, and it's really fun to watch. When your child becomes a reader, I really do believe it opens so many gateways and so many opportunities to them and really helps them be successful in all of the other subjects of school as well, and math and science and social studies and their writing. It's so powerful. Lastly, before I forget, I had it on a sticky note in front of me. I have also signed up for the Pizza Hut bucket. I don't know how many of you as adults got to do that when you were in elementary. Pizza Hut will give me coupons once a month for little personal pan pizzas for the kids to go get for free. I know I loved that as a child, and so I've signed up for that. That, I think they said, starts in October. They will start sending me those coupons. And so for kids that are on track and reading every month, they will be getting those coupons as well. So there's lots of prizes, lots of incentives for them to be reading. Hopefully that answered the questions about 40 book. I will send home reminders. If you need clarification, please reach out and ask me. If you have concerns, let me know. I am happy to work with you when I can. So, happy reading, start reading today, and good luck.